Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video, we'll be working on this design right here, and we will be making use of React and TailwindCSS. So if you're looking forward to get started with TailwindCSS with React, this is the best video for you. And another thing is that I'll be getting this design from Dribble. So I came across this design, I saw that it was awesome. So I'll be leaving a link at the description section below, and we'll see how we can create it. Okay, another cool thing is that in the next part of this video there will be a part 2, and the main thing that I'll be showing you is how we can process payment with PayPal. Okay, so we'll make this button functional, and once you click it, we'll have this PayPal pop up here, and once we click on PayPal, it should load the payment procedure. For some reason right now it's not working, but check on the next video. I'll leave a link at the description section below once it's ready, so that you can check it out. Okay, so in case you're new here, my name is Charles and I create coding content here on YouTube. So if you're interested in tutorials on CSS, JavaScript, React, and Node.js, so this is the best place for you, and you can check out most of my other videos on the channel. And if you find them interesting, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notification so that you don't miss the next cool videos just like this one. So one last thing is that if you need the source code, it will be available on my Patreon, and I'll leave a link to it at the description section below. Unfortunately, it's not free, just $3 per month, and you'll get access to all the source codes, including sending email with the node mailer, real-time chat app application, we have e-commerce app, we have a portfolio source code, and so on. So you can check it out, and this is one of the best ways that you can get to support my content. So how do we get started with a Tailwind CSS and React? So I saw the easiest way is to use a Vite. You can search Tailwind Vite, and then you'll get this one. When you click on this link, you'll get more info about it. So install Tailwind CSS with a Vite, and we have using React, and also we have using Vue. So right now we are using React. Okay, so once you get to this page, all you need to do is to run this command here, npm create, then vite at latest. You can type it out, then the name of the project, then you include the template and you specify it's React. Okay, so I'll copy that. So if you check on this one, you'll see it's similar, only that here you are specifying its Vue, and here we are specifying its React. So right here I have VS Code opened, and I have an empty folder opened as well. So I'll just pop up the terminal using Ctrl+J. Right here I'll go ahead and paste this command. Then here where we have my project, I'll include a dot or a full stop like that. So what this means is that it will use the name of the folder here to create the project. Okay, so I'll go ahead and hit enter. So here we have specified the name to be this one. This is the name of the folder. I'll just hit enter, and there we go. Now we have this simple project. We have pack.json file, and you should make sure to install the dependencies. So right here just run npm I. So this will install React and React DOM from npm. So the next step, you install Tailwind CSS. So you run npm install Tailwind CSS. Then we have post CSS and auto prefixer. So I'll just copy this command and come back. So right here I'll go ahead and paste. I'll hit enter and wait for them to install. So if we come back, the next step will be to run this command. This will create a Tailwind CSS config. I'll copy this command to create the Tailwind CSS config. So it will be npx Tailwind CSS init and then -p. So this will create two config files. Let's see. I'll hit enter. Right here you'll see them. So it has created this post CSS config and this Tailwind CSS config. Okay, cool. Now let's see the other step. So configure your template paths. So we should edit this config file and include these paths and extension.js, ts, jsx, and so on. So what I should do is to just copy this content, copy, and include it in the exports object. So this content, I replace it with this one here. Okay, so I'll save that file, and then one last step, add the Tailwind directives to your CSS. Okay, so right here I'll copy all this. You can just click on this one, copy everything, then come. So here we will already be having some CSS files in the SRC. So if you have never created a project with Vite, so the folder structure might be a bit different. So right here in SRC, you'll see that we have index CSS, we have app CSS. So I'll make index.css to be my default. What I'll do, I'll highlight everything and remove, and then I'll paste what I copied from our Tailwind CSS. Okay, and then I'll do some cleanup. Okay, so I will not be needing this app.css, so I will delete it. Then I'll go into app.jsx file and make sure that we don't import this file since it does not exist anymore. Remove React logo import, remove any state that we have here. If we need state, we'll be adding it later on. Then right here I can replace everything with React. Then I'll save. Now we can fire up our application using npm run dev. So right here we can say npm run dev, and then I'll hit enter. So our app is running on this URL, so I can use control click to open it. Then I open it here, and we'll see Vite plus React here. It's running. Let's wait for it. So here now we have React, so it's working. Awesome. So the first thing that I want to show you is how we can add a font to our application. So right here, just search for Google Fonts and you'll go to fonts. So you can choose any font that you want, but in this case I want to use Alata, this font. I chose Alata because I thought it's pretty close with the font used on the design. I don't know which font was used, but I thought this was close enough. Okay, so what you need to do is to click on add here. Mine is removed because I have already added it. Add here and you'll get this pop-up. If you don't get it, just click on this one, then you'll come to import and highlight this, copy, then you will go to your index.css file and you can just paste it at the very top. This is how I at least did it. Now the next step is to specify this font on your theme. So that will be at Tailwind config right here. Where we have theme, we will add just above the extend here, you can add font family, and this will be an object, and right here you'll give your font a name. I'll say Alata. This is what you'll be using as a class name. And the next thing, you will add right here now correctly, so it will be Alata. And then right here I can include sans serif as a fallback, so sans hyphen serif. Then right here I include a comma. So far so good. We have a project right here that is using Tailwind CSS. We can test it out and see if it's working, if Tailwind CSS is working, by maybe adding a background color. So Tailwind CSS usually work with class names, so just like Bootstrap, only that Tailwind CSS class names or classes are low level than those of Bootstrap. So right here I can just say BG and then I'll say hyphen black. So this is a TailwindCSS class, and now this should turn the background to black. So I'll save, and when I come here, you'll see that now we have this BG black. So this is awesome because in TailwindCSS now we are able to use classes or class names like these, okay? And by the way, you saw that I had a suggestion, a pop-up suggestion of what to include. So you need to add an extension, a TailwindCSS extension if you want the same. So this is the extension that is bringing that behavior, TailwindCSS IntelliSense. Just install it. Then what you'll need to do is to reload VS Code. Maybe you can exit it and then come back, and then hopefully it will work out. So whenever you start typing some TailwindCSS classes here, you'll get that pop-up. So if I say BG again, you'll see that we have this nice pop-up IntelliSense where we can get suggestions, okay? So every time we think of something that is related to TailwindCSS, we get suggestion. Here we have text. You can change text color, you can change size, and we have things like flex. So this is for flex box. We can flex shrink, flex grow, and so on. So TailwindCSS usually uses classes like these, just like in Bootstrap, only that the TailwindCSS classes are low level, so we can highly customize our design, unlike in Bootstrap where most of the components are pre-made and it's hard to customize them. So that is one of the reasons why people love TailwindCSS. We don't have to leave our JSX file, and also we are able to highly customize our design. So we can be able to create pixel perfect designs using just TailwindCSS, unlike in Bootstrap. So let's see how we can bring our design to life. So let's check it right here. So the first thing we have is that you can see we have this background color here, and it's yellow. We have this one here, which is white, and then we'll have a nav here and some links here. We'll have this content, and we'll have a picture at the center here, and it closes a bit on this other side, and a button here. So this is pretty easy. We can start with creating these background colors before we get started adding the content. At our app here, I'll just remove this class name app, and I'll add my own using TailwindCSS. So the first thing is that I want a div that will cover the entire page. So right here we can say width hyphen screen. That will be a width that covers the entire page. Then h hyphen screen will be the same. So if you are in doubt, you can always check TailwindCSS documentation. So let me show you how to go around it. So TailwindCSS here. Now if you know CSS, learning TailwindCSS will be so easy because we have the docs here with everything. So if I scroll down here, you'll see how we can use the layout. We have flex here. You'll see how you can create a flex box. If you need grid, you'll see how you can use grid, justifying content, and so on. Spacing, padding, and margin. How do you add padding and margin? We have them here. Width, height, how do we handle them? We have them here. So you can check these ones out. Anyway, all I'm saying, if you want to run anything, the docs is the best place. So you can always search something that is related. For example, if I want the height, you can use Control F, then you'll say height here, and you can see it now here. When I click on height, I'll see how I can be able to add a height in TailwindCSS, and you'll see it's just using these class names, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so if you are in doubt of any class that I type, you can always search it at the docs. Okay, so these will create a full screen. So if here I say again BG, let's use something that is a bit right, this one, and I save, and we come back here, you'll see now it's occupying the entire page here, and we have React at the top. So to change the font, remember we added our own custom font. We can just say font, and you'll see here we have Alata, and this is what we added. So if I click on that one, the font will change to Alata. You'll see it have slightly changed, which is awesome. So this is all we need to do at this div. Now we will be having two more other div in here, so let me add them. So we'll be having that one, and also we'll be having one last thing. For this, we should be able to align these two divs using flexbox. So to make this div a flex container, we just need to say flex, and by default it will have a flex direction of row. Okay, and now we'll be able to style these two appropriately. So here I'll add a class name. I'll give this a height of full, so this is like 100% of the height. Then I'll give it a flex of 1, and I'll do the same for this one. So I'll copy these two classes, and whatever we'll do here, we'll change also the background. So the background color for this one, I'll set it to be hash FFF and then 0CH. So this is how we set a custom background, or if you want to set a custom height, a custom something. For example, if I wanted this to be having a height of 300 px instead of full, I will set it like this, include these square brackets here, and then I will say 300 px. Okay, you include square brackets and specify your custom value in there. So this is for the case where we don't have that class in TailwindCSS. So right now I want it to be full. Cool. So now if I save this, you'll see that we'll have two sections. We'll have this one and we'll have this one. So let's see. There we go. So we have this section and we have this. So we had a container with a class of flex, so that's why they are side by side. Then we included this flex of 1, this flex of 1, so they'll occupy equal spacing. But now we changed the background color for this one, and that's why it's now this way. Awesome. So let's start with this first section. So this first section will look something like this. We will have a nav here, and then we'll have this content, then we'll have these icons here. So right here we'll start working on this one here. I'll first add a folder here in SLC called components, so that we can separate different parts into components. And then here I'll add a new component and I'll call it navlinks.jsx. Then right here I'll use simple React snippets, which is an extension, to create this component, this one. So I'll say SFC for stateless functional component, and here I'll be able to say nav links. Okay, and right here I can now work on this component. I'll add a div, and now we can use some classes here to style these nav links. So for this nav links, we'll be having 3 things, and these will be some anchor tags, which are the links now. And we can say href to be hash, meaning that it doesn't go anywhere. And right here I'll say types. So this will be the first one. Then we'll duplicate these 2 more times. Then here we'll be having price, just like that. Then right here we'll be having connect. Okay, now we can work with some classes to style them. So here I'll add a class name, and let's see what we are doing, so that when we make a change you'll also see it here. Okay, first of all I'll hook this up into our app.jsx. So in here I will load our nav links. Make sure it's imported at the top, and I'll save. Now at the nav links, you can see here we already have types, price and connect. Awesome. Now at the nav links where we have the class name, I want us to use flex to style them. So if I add here flex, nothing changes, but now we are able to include a flex gap. So I can just say gap and I say here to be 32. So you can check the gap property. So now here you'll see that we have gap between our items. Awesome. Now if I happen to be on a bigger screen, you'll see this is not looking good. We have a lot of space here, so we should use another flexbox property, so which is to justify the content between. So I'll say justify here and we'll have between, and if I save, now that will push the elements to the very end. Even on a bigger screen you'll see them now, they are reaching at the end. Awesome. I can change the text color and I'll include a custom color. Therefore I'll use these square brackets, and right here I'll say hash 999999. So if I save that, you'll see now this is grayish. Awesome. Now for the individual links, we can include padding top and bottom for each of them. So here I'll add a class name and I'll include py, that is padding along the y-axis, so that is top and bottom, to be 4, and these will be for each of them. So I'll copy that and I'll paste it here, and I'll also paste it here. And now you'll see have spacing top, and also we'll be having the same at the bottom. Now right here I want to add this background for this one for price, so that will be this one. And I'm sure this is for maybe Hoover or maybe Active Link, but for this case I'll just add it as a normal background, but you need to consider that the Hoover state and so on for this, in case it's a live site. That is, we'll add a BG, and we will include a custom color, which is our yellowish color. So now we have this background color there. So if you want this to be on Hoover, you can just say Hoover, then full colon, and save. So now you'll see it's not there, but when I hover, you'll see that we have that background. Okay, but I want it to be visible by default, so I'll just remove the hover. I just wanted to show you how you can make use of that hover right there. So we can set its maybe padding along the x-axis, so that is right and left. So I'll include a padding of about 16, so that it will be a bigger box. So if I save that, I should include a hyphen. There we go. Now it's this beautiful. We include this price to be more bold, so I'll say font to be semi-bold like this, and also we can change the text color to be darker. So I'll include a custom text color which is more dark than other links. So I'll say hash 34, and if I save, you'll see now this is darker. And again, if you want this effect to be on hover, you'll have to add hover here for each of them. So I'll have this hover, then you will include this, then you will include this, then you will include it also here. So if I save and I happen now to hover, you'll see we get that background and changing color for the price. That was for demonstration on how you can use this pseudo, and that is how you can do it. Awesome. So now we already have our nav links. Now at the app here, we should also specify the padding for this container where we have these nav links. So this one right here. So let's come here and I'll actually close this. We are actually like done with it. So here I'll include padding to the left, so PL padding to the left of about 40, and then I'll have padding to the right of about 24. So left is this side, right is this side. We'll also be having padding at the bottom, so I'll say PB of 8. So these are the class names. Now I'll save, and you'll see now we have some good spacing on this side and this side, and our links are here just like we have it here. Awesome. Now let's work on this part here. So this part will be like our content, and it will be down here. So here I'll be creating another component. Let's go ahead and create that component. So I'll call it hero text content .jsx. I'll hit enter, and right here let's create this component, stateless functional component, and we'll have hero text content just like that, and I'll do it like this. Here we'll have a div, and we can include now some class names for this. So let's add class name, and let's close that side so that we have more space. So we'll be having a flex of column for the content here. You can see they are aligning downwards. So here we'll have flex and then flex column. We can include a gap between them of about 8, and then we will want them to align to the start. So I'll have item start, and we can give this a width. So I don't want it to come all the way to the end, so I'll give the content a width, and it will be a custom width of 80%, like this, 80%. So the content will be from this point to about this point. Okay, it will not be up to this point, which is the end. Okay, so here we should include the content. We have a h1, so let's add h1 here, and for this h1 we will have wood candy sofa, like that. Then we'll be having this part here which looks like a paragraph, so I'll add a p tag, and for this I don't want to type everything that is in here, so I can use lorem ipsum to add some dummy text. So I'll say lorem 25, that will add some dummy text there. Awesome. And finally we will be having a price and a button. So for the price I can use a strong tag, and I'll say $399.00, and right here we'll be having a button. I'll save, and if we come here we don't see anything, so we should hook our hero text content component in our app right here. So I'll say hero text content, and I will include it like this. If I save now, we have our content here. Awesome, looks good. Now I'll go back here and let's style it to look like the design by starting with the h1 here. So for the h1, let's add a class name as usual, and we will make it to be big. So this is how we can change the size. Text, then 7XL, so it will be super large. If I save, you'll see it changes the size to be very big. I want it to have font bold, so font bold, that will make it to be more bolder. Awesome. One thing that you'll notice is that this is not at the center here, and that is affected by our app here. So remember, this is our parent, so we have nav links and this one. What I'll do, I'll include a bottom div here just to have an element there. So I can say bottom, and then I'll make use of flexbox to include space between them right here. We should have flex, and the flex should be column, so flex should be column, so flex col, and then here we include justify between for space between them, and if I save now, you'll see now this is at the center here. We have the nav at the top and bottom will be there. So that is cool. Now let's come back to hero text content and we style our paragraph. The only thing that I think we should change here is the color for the paragraph so that it's pale. So let's add a class and we'll say text to be hyphen, and we specify the color in here of #999999. If I save now this is pale as required. We come now to price. So you can see the way it's really fast to style with Tailwind because you are just including some classes directory which affect the design automatically. So I increase the size of this text and also I'll change the font to be semi-bold, just like that. Then for this button we will have a class name. We will change the BG, so BG color. So if I happen to save now, you'll see we have that, but the button is not showing up because we don't have any content. So I'll save by now, and we should have a background now for this button, just like that. We should style it correctly, so we need to add some padding to it, and I'll say px-8, and then I'll say py-2. So py is top and bottom, px is left and right. So if I save now, you'll see we have a nice button just like in the design. This is pretty awesome. So now we have this text content. Now we should style our icons down here, right here. So we will create another component for the icons at the bottom here. So right here, let's create a new component, and I can call this one left footer. So left footer dot JSX, and here we'll have the trace functional component left footer, and here we'll be having this. It will be a div. Cool. So we should hook this left footer to our app. So instead of bottom, we say left footer. So I remove this and we'll say left footer, and I save that. Awesome. So now at the left footer we can have hello to test it out, and there we go, we have hello here. So when we check at the footer, we have some icons. We have Google, we have this one and also this one. So for these icons I'll use bootstrap icons, although TailwindCSS has its own icon library called hero icons. So if you search for hero icons, we'll be using those on our icons which are at the top here, but I found that these hero icons don't have these social icons, therefore I didn't use it. So this is a beautiful handcrafted SVG icons by the makers of TailwindCSS. So here, if you search for Facebook, you don't get it. If you search for Google, you don't get it. So we need to find an alternative, and that is why I chose bootstrap icons. So I'll come here, and here are the icons. We should have an icon for Google, so search for Google and we get it here. So if I click on this one and come down here, I can copy this SVG and I'll be able to add it here. We have two parts, I think. So we have these icons right here, and we also have this arrow on this side. So I'll include this arrow together with these other icons, but I think in actual sense they should be together with this one in the same component, and then you'll like center them right here maybe using absolute positioning and so on, but I don't want to go to that route. I'll just include them in one component here. So here, therefore, I'll divide it into two, this section and this section. So let's have a div, and here let's have another div. So these will be for social icons, these will be for this arrow here. So here for the social icons, let's add our Google icon, and we make sure that we change this class to class name, otherwise React will complain. Then we can also change the size of these icons by changing the height to 20 and also the width to 20, height and width. So if I save and come here, you'll see we have Google. So I'll quickly add the others and then we'll continue. So I have added the other two icons and you can see them right here. Now finally, I'll also add the arrow icon right here. So I just need to search for arrow here, arrow, and we have a lot of them. I'll take this one here. So this is in hero icons, by the way. This is not Bootstrap. And the cool thing about hero icon, you'll see that we have both SVG and JSX. So if I select these, you'll see it's JSX, and if I paste it here, I'll not have to change things like class name. It's well suited for JSX. Okay, then right here, instead of 6, I can change the height to 10 and this one to 10. Now I'll save, and if I come back here, you'll see they are here but in a column. So I want to align them nicely using TailwindCSS. So it's pretty easy. We start from this one. We will use flex. By default, these will align them in a row. So class name flex, and then we can justify between. So if I save, now you'll see this arrow is on this side, these are on this side. Let's tell these ones here. So here we add a class name and we add flex, and here we also say a gap of 16. So look, now they are here. We changed the color for this one, the arrow. So where we have the div for the arrow, we just say class name, then we'll have text hyphen, and I'll use our color, gray color, which is 999999. So I save, and there we go, we have it here. And when you look at this side, we have actually completed it. Okay, and that is pretty awesome. Therefore now we should go on this other side where we have a coach, some icons at the top here, have this one here, these numbers, and then we will be done with our design. So you can see it's pretty fast to work with Tailwind. So let's come here. Now we'll work on this one. So just like we did with this one, we should include some padding to the right and so on. So here I'll include some padding to the right of 40. So this will be this side here. It will be same with this one. So I want these icons and this chair and this right here to be in a column. Okay, so we will have flex, and then we will say flex to be column, and then we will justify content to be between. Another thing is that for this chair here, it will be having an absolute position, and we will make this to be the parent for that absolute position. So here we will say let the position for this one to be relative. Okay, so I'll also include relative there. So if I save, nothing changes, but when we include the content, you'll see the effects. So the first thing that we will add is these nav icons. We can include them in their own component. So nav icons dot JSX. So for these nav icons, I'll be making use of the hero icons to get them but first of all, let's create this component. So nav icons, and here we'll have a div just like that. Then in here we'll have our icons, and I'll get them from hero icons. The first one here will be a heart. So let's search for heart, and I want it to be solid, so I click solid and copy JSX and paste it here. So using hero icons, it's pretty easy and fast. The next one, I want it to be a cat, and the last one will be a person or a profile. So here will be have cat. You can choose this one. I'll use the shopping bag for cat, and here I will choose person. So we have this one, user, and I'll paste that at the end here. So I'll save. So this will auto format the code using prettier, but now we have the icons somewhere. No, we don't. We should hook our nav icons right here. So nav icons, and I'll save now. So if I check, there we go, we have them here. So now the next thing is to style them using Tailwind. So here we should have a class name, and we should include a flex between them. They'll now be arranged in a row. There we go here. But now we want them to have the space between them. We can use a gap here of about 16. And if I save, now you'll see they have a gap between them here. Now the other thing that we can do is to include a padding y of 4, but also we should push them to the end. So I'll use justify, and there we go. Yeah, you have padding y top and bottom. Then justify end is not working, or is it? Actually it is. Okay, so the next thing would be to add our image, and I'll leave a link to the chair image at the description section below. So at my project here, where we have assets, I'll paste this image for the chair, and you'll see it being added here, but I'll also leave a link where you can get to download it at the description section below. Or you can just try to crop this one out, and maybe you remove the background using some software. We have some free ones online, you can use them. So now that we have the image, I'll go to components, and I'll add a new component, and I'll call this one image container .jsx, and let's create a stateless functional component, image container, and in here we'll have a div. So here we are just adding the image, so I'll just say img tag, and we should include the source right here, and right here I'll say sofa. So for the source, we should import the image from the assets. This is how we do it. So we'll say import sofa img from, we specify the file, so this will be assets, and then stroke sofa .png, and right here let's say sofa img. So I'll save, and let's hook this image right here after our nav icons. So we'll have our image container. I save, and you'll see that image at the bottom here. Let's include another div as a placeholder, because we need this to be at the center, so I'll say bottom. And now look, it's at the center here. That is because we have this justify between and we are flexing column. We have bottom here, this is at the center. So pretty nice. Okay, so I want this chair to be right here at the center, and remember we used position of relative here at the parent, therefore we can use a position of absolute on this one. Awesome. So we'll say class name and I'll say absolute, and now you'll see it is shifting, but I want it to be nearly at the center. So top, I'll say a custom value of 30%. So this is the distance from top to where it should start. And then here, if I save, it's now at the bottom here. I want to push it this way. So here we'll say left, and since now it's absolute, it can overflow above our background. So hyphen, and we will say let this one be negative 100 px. So you can play around with the value, and this might be different depending on the size of the screen. Now look, it's here, so it's where we need it to be, and that's basically it. Pretty easy. Now the other thing that we can add is our number here on the side, so let's add that component. So we will call this component page count. So right here I can add a component for page count at the components page count dot jsx stateless functional component page count, and right here let's have a div, and the content for this div is that I'll include 2 span tags. So I'll say span, this one will be 01, and the other span tag I'll say stroke 03. So if you check the design, it's loading, we have something like this 01 and then stroke 03 with the different styles. So I have separated them using the span. Okay, now let's style them. So let's come here and see what we are doing. So right here we'll have a class name, and we'll position them to be absolute. So right here I'll say absolute to the parent, and then we'll have right here, okay, right here to be 20. So this is the position from the right, and I have top as that percent, just like that. So if I hook this up at our app, we should be able to see something. So right here we will have our page count component. I save, and you can see it here now. Okay, this here. So we need it to be like this. Let's see how we can do that in TailwindCSS. So we will just rotate it using a class name here. We'll just say rotate, and we'll rotate it by 90 degrees, and we'll make the text to be larger. So text XL, and also to be a bit heavy, so I'll use font semi-bold. So if I come back and we happen to save, you'll see it rotates and it's now bold. We should style this differently. So for this one, let's add a class name, and I'll change the text size to be 3XL, and font will be more bold. So font, instead of semi-bold, it will be bold. If I save, you'll see now 01 is heavy than 03. 03 again, we change the color for this one, and we'll set the text to be a hash 999999 and make sure to close like that. Now if I save, now this looks more like we have in the design, only the font is different. So awesome, pretty easy. Now we are done with this component, and we will be working on one last component for add to cart button. Awesome. Okay, we had left footer here. Now right here let's have a right footer. We will have right footer. Let's create this component before saving that file. So right footer .jsx sfc right footer. The content, let's start with a div and say nothing. Okay, now here we should make sure we import it, control space when the cursor is at the end here to auto import, then save. Then here we can include content. So we'll be having two things. We'll be having an arrow, and also we'll be having this button. So right here we can start by having a div for the arrow. This will be for the arrow, and we can include the arrow in here. So right here I'll go to hero icons, and we will say arrow, and we'll have an arrow facing the other side. I'll copy that one and I can paste it here. We can change the size to be similar to the previous one, which was 10 and 10. After that div will be having a button for add to cart, and we will say add to cart. They will say plus. So we can hook. Okay, we have already done that, so let's see what we have. We have this arrow here and this add to cart. Let's style them with TailwindCSS. So we start here. I'll say class name, and I will display flex, and then I will justify hyphen between. Now for the arrow here, let's add a class, and I'll just add padding to the left of 24. Now for the button, these will have an absolute position, so let's add a class name of absolute. Then we will be able to position it at the bottom here by saying let bottom be 0 and let right be 0. So if I save, you see we have add to cart at the very bottom there. Now we need more styles. We will have py padding top and bottom of 16, okay, of 8, and then px of 16. So if I save, now we have some spacing, and we can happen to include a background which is more darker than what we currently have on its background. So hash, this will be ff, then e1, then 92. So if I happen to save, you see it's a darker background there. We can increase the font weight. So here we will say font hyphen semi-bold, and finally we increase the text size by setting it to 2XL. If I happen to save, now look, add to cart is there, and we have our arrow here. So this arrow is not okay. it shouldn't be at the very bottom there. So let's come to up, and right here we'll add a padding to the bottom. So I'll say PB of 8, just like in this one. I save, and now the arrow is at the right place. And look, we have completed designing this with TailwindCSS and React. It's pretty simple to use TailwindCSS. It's just some low utility class names, and the best place to learn more about it is on the documentation. So let me know if you like the video, and if you like to see more TailwindCSS videos, like, you know, including some animations, responsiveness, and if we can work on even more designs using React and TailwindCSS, or even just HTML and TailwindCSS. So that is it for this video. In the next part of this video, we will implement these buttons so that you can be able to purchase these with PayPal, and we'll use PayPal, React, and Node.js. So if this is something that you are interested, once the video is ready, I'll leave a link at the description section below. Also support my channel by subscribing and turning on post notification so that you don't miss any videos just like this one. And I'll see you in the next one.